Welcome back. So it had just started to snow just before the end of the school day. Um, but when the bell rang, Henry had to go to practice for the play. Now, when you get to the auditorium, it was a very busy place. In one corner of the room, moms from the PTO were changing costumes for the polar bear chorus. Henry recognized the white suits. He had used one when he had been an Easter bunny in a spring program. Now the moms were taking off the long ears and the fuzzy tails and were sewing on short ears and straight tails to change the bunny suits into polar bear costumes. The stage crew was at work. Some of the 8th grade boys were turning different colored lights on and off. At the back of the stage, Scooter, standing on a board lying across 2 stepladders, was painting scenery with green paint. And, oh, that glare is terrible. There's the moms, and there's Scooter up there in the corner. I wish I could show you the pictures a little better. Henry sat down to wait for his turn, while Mary Jane and Beezus rehearsed their dance, and Robert, wearing his dog suit, practiced walking on all fours. Henry waited and waited. He sat on the hard auditorium chair and looked out the window at the snowflakes. He could hear the other kids laughing and yelling outside, so he knew there must be enough snow for snowballs. He wished his turn would come so he could leave. But now the tin soldiers were practicing their marching steps. At the end of their song and dance, one of the stage crew threw a basketball across the stage in front of them. It was supposed to look like a cannonball, and the tin soldiers were supposed to tip over with one leg in the air. Miss Roop didn't like the way they fell, and she made them do it over and over and over again. Henry wandered up to the stage behind the tin soldiers to watch Scooter painting the scenery. Hey, Scooter, what are you supposed to be painting? Trees, answered Scooter, with real paint. Where'd you get it? A guy in my room's dad has a paint store, and he gave it to us. Just then, Henry heard a bark. It sounded like Ribsy. It was Ribsy. Ribsy ran in through the door of the auditorium, ran up the steps to the stage, and wormed his way behind the row of tin soldiers to get to Henry. He shook himself and sprayed snow and wagged his tail. Well, Ribsy, old boy, said Henry. Did you get tired of waiting out in the cold? Ribsy shook again. Henry patted him. Why, Ribs, you're all wet. Must be snowing hard out there. That's a dumb-looking dog, said Scooter. He is not. He's a smart dog. Aren't you, Ribsy? I'll bet he can't climb a ladder like my dog can, said Scooter. I'll bet he can. Call him and see. Scooter looked down at the dog. Here, Ribsy, he called. Come on, boy. Ribsy looked up at him and then at Henry. Go on, said Henry. Up the ladder. He pointed to the ladder. Ribsy put one paw on the bottom step. Attaboy, go on. Ribsy carefully put a paw on the next step. Good dog, said Henry, urging him on. Come on, Ribsy, coaxed Scooter. Ribsy cautiously made his way up to the board on the top of the stepladder. Good old Ribsy, said Henry. See, told you he could do it. Told you he was smart. Pleased with himself, Ribsy looked down at his master, wagged his tail, and said, Woof! Oh, you be quiet, ordered Henry in a loud whisper. If Miss Roop hears you, she'll kick you out. Ribsy sat down on the board and looked around the auditorium. "Aw, beat it," said Scooter. "Can't you see I got work to do?" "Here, Ribsy," whispered Henry. "You don't want Miss Roop to see you, do you?" Ribsy liked sitting on the board. "Ah, see, I told you he was a dumb dog." Scooter picked up his can of paint and stepped over Ribsy. He set the can down and went on painting treetops. "Come on, Ribsy." "Aw, he's too dumb to go down the ladder." "He is not. Come here, Ribsy." Ribsy stood up and sniffed at the can of paint. "Here, Ribsy. Come on down," begged Henry. "Come on down," begged Henry, looking up at his dog. "Come on, you old dog. I'll really catch it if Miss Roop sees you." Miss Roop clapped her hands for attention. The music stopped and the tin soldiers stopped falling down. "How did that dog get in here?" she demanded. "Well, I don't know," answered Henry. "I guess he just walked in." "Well, take him out." Henry did not move. "Quickly, Henry, we have a lot to do this afternoon." "Oh, gee whiz, Miss Roop, I'm trying to take him out, but he won't come down." "I'll carry him down," Miss Roop offered Scooter. "I don't think he knows how to go down the ladder." Henry glared at Scooter. "No, Scooter, he's too heavy to carry down a ladder. You might fall," said Miss Roop. Just then, Ribsy sat down to scratch behind his left ear. Thump, thump, thump. His hind leg bumped against the can of paint. The can tipped. "Ah!" Scooter yelled. "Woof!" Ribsy barked. "Henry, look out!" screamed Miss Roop. The can fell over, and the green paint poured down over Henry. "Glub, glub," said Henry, as he heard Miss Roop run up to the stage. He heard her, but he couldn't see her. He had to keep his eyes shut. The cold, oily paint was dripping down his face and neck. He could feel it dripping off his ears. Miss Roop made a squeaking noise. Then Henry could feel her rubbing his head with something made of cloth. "Run and get some paper towels," she called to the other kids. She wiped away at his face. "I knew I shouldn't have let those boys use real paint. They should have used poster paint. It would have washed off with water. Oh dear, I'm afraid your shirt is ruined." Henry heard Ribsy barking. When he could see again, he found all the tin soldiers and polar bears and PTA moms crowded around him. Miss Roop began to scrub his hair with paper towels. "Oh, that's all right," he said to Miss Roop. "It's an old shirt anyway." The towels she was wiping him with felt scratchy on his ears and neck. Ribsy continued to bark and pace back and forth across the board as he looked down at his master. "Quiet, Ribsy," Henry ordered. Ribsy stopped barking and looked anxiously at the floor. Then he looked at Henry. Before Henry realized what was happening, Ribsy leaped from the board, sailed over the heads of several tin soldiers and polar bears, and landed on all fours in the puddle of green paint. He skidded and sat down. "Oh, Ribsy," groaned Henry. Then he said to Scooter, "See, he was smart enough to get down, all by himself." The dog began to bark and run around Henry. He left a circle of green footprints on the floor of the stage. "Oh, Henry," wailed Miss Roop, and then said sharply, "Scooter, take that dog out of the building and carry him. I don't want any more green footprints in the halls." "Yes, Miss Roop." Scooter climbed down the ladder and lugged the barking dog away. Mary Jane squirmed through the crowd to look at Henry. "Henry Huggins!" she exclaimed. "Wait till your mom sees you. Your hair is green, and so is your skin. Beezus laughed. Henry, your face looks just like a green apple. Henry, I'm afraid this real paint isn't going to come off for a long time, said Miss Roop. Someone handed Henry a mirror. Golly, breathed Henry. He stared into the mirror. His hair and eyebrows were pale green. His face was all green at the forehead and streaked with green toward his chin. His ears were green all over. Jeepers! Green ears! He couldn't take his eyes off the mirror. Secretly, he thought he looked fascinating, like a leprechaun from a fairy tale. Now maybe the kids would stop calling him little boy. That gave Henry an idea. Miss Roop, I can't be in the play when I'm all green, can I? He asked hopefully. Miss Roop sighed. No, Henry, I guess you can't. She looked at him. Then she smiled. I'll give your part to someone else, and you can play the part of the green elf. Now run along home. The green elf? That was a good part. The green elf got to turn somersaults and flips and didn't have to say anything. Henry put on his jacket and his hat and went out into the snow. It was deep enough to scrunch under his feet. Now he scooped up a handful and threw it at Ribsy, who was waiting under the pine tree. The snow would be just right. Oh, where's that glare? Sorry. The snow would be just right for sledding on the 33rd Street hill when his mom and dad surprised him with the flexible flyer for sled at Christmas. In the meantime, he'd make a snowman on the front lawn. Maybe he'd make a whole snow family, even a snow dog. Good old Ribsy, I don't know how I'd ever get along without you. He took out his handkerchief and wiped green paint from his dog's tail. Then Henry followed a set of big footprints in the snow. He took big steps and carefully put his feet into the marks someone else had made in the snow. Jeepers, he exclaimed. I'm going to have a green Christmas and a white Christmas at the same time. Won't Mom be surprised? And let's see if we can say that one more time. There is Henry walking in the snow with Ribsy. Our next chapter, which we will start tomorrow, is the pale pink dog. So right now, Ribsy has green paint on his tail and green paint on his feet. I don't know how he's going to get to be a pale pink dog. Tune in tomorrow. We'll see you.